Welcome to the Free Life Blog. I'm so glad you've joined me. My name is Sean, and today I really want to talk about why this blog. Okay, so if you notice, the title is actually To the Free Life. And the words I really want to point out is free and life. And those are really the words that kind of speak to the entirety of everything we're trying to give to people. There's a group of people. Some of them are behind the scenes right now. Some of them you'll be seeing as time goes on, that all have found what it is to live in their relationship with God in such a way that they have freedom, that they have life, that they have connection that is just so powerful that it affects their entire life. Everything they do, every relationship they have, it affects things. And so let's talk about that just for a second. Because I don't know about you, but I lived a good portion of my life and I wasn't a happy camper. I tried to be a happy camper. I tried to look like a happy camper, but I wasn't really on the inside. And there's some areas that we struggle with. There are some areas that when you look at, we struggle with sometimes the way we think. You know, we have bad thoughts. It might be lustful thoughts. It might be hateful thoughts. It might be jealous thoughts. Thoughts that we don't like because we realize as we go down that road, they end up doing damage to our relationships. They end up doing damage to our self-esteem. You know, like depression is a result of one of those. And I'm going to actually tell you a story about how I suffered through depression to give you an example of what it's like to kind of break through this. And it could be things we feel, you know. Those same thoughts kind of lead into feelings, and it might be the feelings that we're really struggling with. You know, the feelings of depression, the feelings of self-loathing, or feelings of you can't do anything, feelings of, you know, nothing is ever going to change, feelings that you just like, I have no life, everything is just death. I'm feeling pain, I'm feeling hurt, I'm feeling, And those result in things we do. We end up doing things. You know, if I'm struggling with lustful thoughts, it's real easy to access pornography in this day and age. So you might end up watching pornography on a regular basis. And you're like, this thing I do, I know it's not good for me. It could be doing things to escape reality, like drugs or alcohol or video games or TV and movies. Anything that you do all so much, your life's out of balance. And you're just like, I'm not moving forward. I kind of hide here, you know? All of those things, oftentimes we're looking for freedom from them. Well, but do you know what we're really looking for? But we really don't know how to get this. We talk in terms of, I want to be free from these things. But you know that's not really what you need? Do you know what you need is life? See, this is the secret that the enemy works really hard to keep us from catching. We need life. See, if you haven't gathered so far, figured this out, I am a Christian, okay? But I want very careful. Do not think that is religion. I am not religious. I try really hard to be, and as soon as God reveals to me that I'm acting religious in something, he's talking to me about letting that go, okay? So I am not about being religious, but I am about a relationship with God. A relationship that we are connected to Him. See, because God's intention for us, He doesn't, oftentimes in Christianity, we've talked about this, you know, I'm a servant of God. You know, we talk about it as if God's will on the earth, He needs pawns and rooks, you know, it's like a chess game or something, and He needs people to fill those slots. So, you know, we need to serve God because God's not going to be able to win the game. That's completely wrong. On so many levels, you know, I can't even begin to talk about it right here. But you see, He doesn't need me to be a servant outside of being a son. And when I say son, I'm talking men and women, okay? Because if you understand what happened in the garden, Eve didn't get the name Eve until she ate of the fruit and they were getting kicked out. Before then, she was Adam also. And so the idea of us being sons, of us being Adam, it has nothing to do with sex. So women out there, you get to be sons too. And there's something else there. I'm not going to talk about that right now. Okay, going on. Can't chase any rabbits here. So, you're designed to have life. You're designed to connect into God as a son, as one in relationship with him. And I'm talking about a good father. I'm not talking about maybe my fathers. Okay, I'm not talking about necessarily your fathers. I'm talking about a father that's absolutely amazing at being a father. It's the perfect father. Okay, that's the kind of father I'm talking about. Okay, and it's important to understand that. He does not expect us to perform. He does not expect us to live up to this standard. And if I don't live up to the standard, he's not going to have a relationship with me. In fact, it's just the opposite. See, the God that I'm talking about, the Father that's wanting to have a relationship with us, he's wanting to have a relationship with us so that we can understand who we are as sons, who we are as connected to him. Okay? So there's a lot going on there. But I really want you to understand when I say some of these words, the words I use, I don't have a lot of choices. So, when I say I'm a Christian, there could be someone's definition of a Christian that's completely different from mine when I'm talking about this. So I want to make these very clear. So even when it comes to being a servant, the servant and the sonship go hand in hand. See, Jesus was a servant, but he wasn't religious. You follow me? What he did say, though, is this, that I've come to give life, and life more abundantly. See, he wants to give us life. So what does that mean? Do you know life is not the absence of death? That's how a lot of times we talk about freedom. Because we talk about freedom in the sense of, if I only could stop doing this, if I could only stop feeling depressed, if I could only stop doing pornography, if I could only stop lying, if I could only stop feeling this self-loathing, if I could only stop, pick something. See, we think that if we stop doing those things, we're going to be free. But let me ask you this question. When something is dead, how does it get undead? Right? What's missing if something is dead? Well, what's missing is life. So if somebody just dies, okay, and they're not breathing, they don't need to be breathing. They need to be alive. So if I take them and I can keep some functions going, but that's not alive. They're not alive until they can do that on their own. See, so if I'm breathing for them, that doesn't equal being alive. So if I can just breathe, then I'm alive. If I could just stop not breathing, you see what I'm saying? Well, when someone dies and they're doing CPR, it's because they're trying to keep their body functions going until they can actually kick them in so that they'll be alive on their own. Well, Jesus didn't come so we would not go to hell. Jesus didn't come so we would stop doing bad things. Jesus didn't come so that we would do good things. See, that's really not why he came, even though all of those things are true when we connect to him the right way, when we have the right relationship with him. Those things will exist, but that's not why he's here. See, why he came was to give me life. So, think about it this way. How would it change the way you think about this if you realize that I don't have to stop trying to get free from things to get free from things? What I need to do is get life and connect to life. And when I connect to life, those things don't have the power over me that they had before. See, God's solution for us is that the more life we have, the more life I have, the less death is operating in me. And when I say death, I'm talking about death in the way I think, death in the way I feel, death in things I do. See, because when he gives me life, all of a sudden everything starts changing. And what I'm offering is to share how God has given me life. the other people that are involved in this blog, they are going to share what it's like to experience life. Because that's what I need. That's what they need. That's what you need. And he has it for you. He has life that as you attach to that life, the freedom is there to be who you are already designed to be. You are designed to be like Adam. Fully connected to God, hearing God, knowing God, personally interacting with God. Not some far off God, but a close relationship. That when you look at the relationship between a husband and wife at its best, and if you've never experienced that, that's hard to imagine, okay? But at its best, at its absolute best, that's the type of relationship we're talking about. When you're talking about a relationship between a father and son fully communicating, the son just, I love being around Dad. Dad always does the right thing, always says the right thing, always knows exactly where I'm supposed to be operating at. And when I'm not operating well, he knows how to get me to where I need to go. That's the type of relationship we're talking about. See, he's trying to give us so much more. So as we go through the days, the weeks, the months that we're going to be giving to you what God's giving us, our prayer for you is that you would receive life. So let me tell you this story about how I experienced depression. Okay? Now, I had struggled with depression. Now, I didn't have like a super serious case that just lasted weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Okay? But I do believe there's similarities in this. And I'm also not saying if you have a serious case of depression, I'm not saying ignore help. Okay? I'm not saying get off medicine. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying there's an answer that might be different than what you expect. So, in my younger life, I had would go into depression when things would just go really wrong. And I'd pick myself back up and get back into it, go back out and start trying to conquer the world again. And when I got slapped down, it would start showing back up again. And so I had this one episode that really got serious. I can't really remember what happened, and that's another story because I've been through so much. I can't remember what exactly happened that caused me to go into it. But I do remember that it was something having to do with my value and my self-worth. And that I started believing that there was just no hope for change. And I want you to catch that. I was believing that there was no hope for change. And I could hear it. I could see it. In my life, I looked at these things and I could hear, you know what? It's not going to change. You're never going to change. There's not going to be any hope. Things are always going to be like this. You're not worth it as a father. You're not worth it as a husband. You're not worth it as an employee. These things that I put value in, I would hear this speaking to me. And I would agree with it. In fact, I wouldn't just agree with it. I would mull over it. I would look at it from all kinds of different angles, see how many different ways it could be proved in my mind, and I wouldn't let it go. And I'm lying in bed. For like the second or third day, and my wife comes in and says, "You begin to get your butt up and stop doing this to yourself. You can overcome this." And I was a little mad at her. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But then this little thought came into my head and said, well, what if she's right? What if I had, what if I could do something about this? And I started realizing that I was believing something. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. Now, I'd been a Christian for a while, but this revelation just kind of, bam, hit me. Who's telling me this stuff? See, because this is the illusion that people want to believe, and people in science tell us that it's just you, there's no God, there's no devil. That's not true. Don't believe that stuff. It's all you. And that's why, you can take this, or we can do this therapy. And, sometimes they help, sometimes they don't. Oftentimes, depression never seems to leave a person. I can tell you, in my life, it left. I realized the enemy was actually speaking to me about this. And I was agreeing with him. And when I agreed with what he was saying to me, I felt terrible. It became my reality. I couldn't see anything else. There was just nothing else to see. I lived and breathed what he was telling me. And so I just realized it. I had this revelation. Then God, what are you saying then? What is it that if he's lying to me, what is the truth about this thing? And I just opened myself up to God to talk to me about this. And when I did, he was saying good things. He was saying everything's going to be fine. Just keep moving with me. Keep walking with me. I'll help you through this. And it lifted off of me, because it was like a blanket. This is how I described it. It was like a blanket, a black blanket just settling in over me. You could feel it, just like you carried the weight of this heavy wool blanket. And it just lifted off of me. And I started feeling, and it was probably about 6-8 hours later, a thought came into my head, and I started agreeing with it again, and I could feel the blanket come back on, and I caught myself. And I just said, no, I'm not going to listen to that. I refuse to listen to that. No, I'm not. I don't believe that. That's not true. Just because I think it doesn't make it true. And boom, it lifted off of me. Ever since that day happened, there has been a few times where it tried to make an approach on me when things started going wrong in my life, because things have gone terribly wrong in my life. And even in those times, because of the revelation of where it was coming from, I could breathe again. I want you to catch something. When I figured out what the enemy was doing, and I started connecting to God. God, what are you saying? That's when I received life. That's when I received freedom. And at that point in time, I had no way of putting verbiage to that. No way of putting into words so people can understand. I did not understand the process. But that's the process. The process is, I need to be able to hear God and recognize God and know when the enemy's operating and refuse to agree with what the enemy's doing and agree with what God's doing. We'll talk more about that next time. I hope this helps. This blog is designed to serve you. I know you're hurting. I know it's painful. I know it's very real. But it doesn't have to stay that way. There is a God who is so interested in you. He loves you. He wants you to know it. He wants you to feel it. He wants you to experience it. Because when you do, it changes everything. You have a great day. I'll see you next time.